YouTube, so I'll get you the link and you can watch it on your own. But I don't have internet on this computer anymore, so I have to download it at home and bring it in, or download it from there and then bring it over. And it's just a pain in the butt now. They've literally they don't allow non-district computers to connect to the Ethernet anymore. It's after been about 3 years normal policy, and also on Wednesday last week they just shut it off and didn't tell me. That was lovely. I bought that laptop specifically because I can do awesome stuff with it and do stuff really quick. But apparently, I don't know, they don't want us to do anything cool, so they're narcs on that side. Sucks. So I gotta rehook up this POS over in the corner here, this 10-decade-old computer, brand XP, now runs Windows 7, and it runs it perfectly. Awful, very slow. Office suites are slow. So. Yeah, I know. You can tell I'm kind of frustrated about it. It's the second time. I had to confess to all my classes. I'm frustrated. It's really frustrating. I want to go to the district office and say, please, I'll donate my laptop to you, and then you can give it back to me as a district-approved device, so that I can actually use the internet, so I can be a normal person. I can go to Starbucks and get internet. Why can't I have it in my place of business? Okay. So real quick in your warm-ups, I know we didn't have a Tuesday creative writing because we didn't have a Monday agenda day, so we kind of pushed everything along. Yesterday was sort of Life Hack Wednesday, so we talked about how the brain is affected by television and what you can do to be aware of that, product placement, memorization. There's another way in which things get into our brains and make us feel like they're valid arguments or valid concepts without us knowing it. Very simple and basic one. I want you to look at these two images here. Do a little quick thought experiment for you. Are these? Would you say that this is good advice and good stuff? So just kind of read each one of these and tell me if you think they're good advice. Tell me what you think they mean and tell me if they're good advice. Go ahead and write them down right now what you think. We have the first one here. Notice who is this person, by the way? I don't even know. Taylor Swift. Oh, Taylor Swift. Of course I know that. Okay. Oh, you're right. It says Taylor Swift right there. Good job. That's you're already ahead of the game. As in everything, nature is the best instructor, Taylor Swift. And then, do not compare yourselves to others. If you do so, you are insulting yourself, Taylor Swift. Okay, so tell me if either one is a good advice, if one's better than the other, whatever you want to say about them. Are these things that you say, yeah, that's actually really important to know. Thank you, Taylor Swift, for saying these things. It's in your warm-up. Just describe to me quote 1, quote 2, what you think about it. Also, if you want to think about the way in which the quote is sort of delivered, that might be an interesting way to think about it as well. Like, why is that picture chosen for each one of those works? I don't know. These were memes that were going around about Taylor Swift, how cool she is, how amazing. It's going to take about 1 minute to do that. Quick. If you like it, you think it's a good quote, why? Putting 1 minute on the clock. Yeah. I'm going to write them down too. Oh, you don't have to. I don't care. Just. Oh, all right. It doesn't bother me. Just write down your thoughts about it. I'd rather hear your discussion of the thoughts. As in everything, nature is the best instructor. Do not compare yourself to others. If you do so, you are insulting yourself. Are these good things to live by? Also make the connection then also between the person, the picture, the potential application of this quote. Give you 1 more minute. I want a good little analysis there, something to say. About 20 seconds. By the way, this isn't your creative writing part. This is just the first lead in. You have a creative thing that you'll be doing. Since this is a place of your Socratic seminar, and also Tuesday. We're all thrown off because of the 3-day weekend. But it was worth it. Quote on the left. Good advice? No. Someone says no. Why not? Let's just start with no. What do you mean it doesn't make sense? Isn't nature the best instructor, though? I mean, just what you naturally want to do isn't like the best thing. Or maybe because of who you are in nature. You are. Shouldn't you let nature guide you? Anyone think it's a good quote? Like to be instructed, it's natural, it's good. Some of you think it's good. Now, why do you think it's good? It's okay. It's obviously it's meant to be a good quote. So we think of positively like nature. Let nature be your guide. Okay, listen to what nature is telling us about the importance of the environment, our own health, right? Okay, like be one with nature, kind of like, yeah, that could be positive. Good. Thank you. Yes.
The picture kind of throws me off.
Why does the picture throw you off?
I don't understand why. If she's in like a really big dress in nature and I kind of see like a chandelier, like what's
She's gonna have some trouble in nature wearing that.
Yes. Like dragging all the, there's like squirrels like. It's like get off! You know, all the stuff. Yeah. So certainly an unrealistic depiction there. So and that isn't everything. Nature is the best instructor. Go and look at this one right here. Good or bad quote?
I like it.
That one's better.
Now why?
Mediocre.
Oh,
not necessarily boots.
I want to know why. Yes.
Because like you should appreciate yourself for who you are.
Appreciate yourself for who you are.
and like if you were to compare yourself to someone else, you're like throwing away your originality.
So you lose your originality. And Taylor Swift has that originality. You can see it in her quote, right? She's different than all the other girls. She's got her guitar, and so she's got this originality to her. Okay. Good. So that's a good quote. Is that a unanimous thing, or can anyone say like, oh, this is good? Maybe not good advice.
I think it's both.
What do you think?
Oh.
It's all about having like high self-esteem, whereas we all know she goes around. I mean, she's had a lot of boyfriends.
Oh, so you think that she's kind of has low? No, this is interesting.
I don't believe it.
So you don't believe what? That her sincerity.
She's just saying it because it applies to a lot of people. Yeah. I'm like, oh, she's so sweet.
So this is an important thing. So no, I think you're onto something here, real quick, and then I'll get to you. And this is a question now, does the integrity of the person who said the quote change its truthfulness or its goodness in terms of like the process? So you're saying it's sort of full of crap because Taylor Swift seems to have low self-esteem, and here she is trying to tell other people about how they should live or general maxims of life, and you're saying, yeah, but you don't even.
It's like if you don't like it, then it's obviously not going to be like.
It's not going to be a good advice, right? It's not going to be good.
The whole reason we quote people is because you want to listen to them.
Right.
If the person's like, then you're not going to.
Right. So these quotes are good in part because if they're from a source that you trust, right?
I don't trust that source though.
You don't like Taylor Swift?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody like Taylor Swift?
What were you gonna say? You had your hand up.
I just think like she does like what she does for publicity.
Yeah, it seems a little bit fake, perhaps. So maybe these quotes too lose a sense of their reality if the person's kind of fake behind it, maybe. But is that true though? Like, can I say something like 2 + 2 = 4, and if I'm like a bad at math person, does that change the truthfulness of what I've said?
No.
What if I was a murderer and I said 2 + 2 = 4? Does that change? Why does it change the meaning? Shh. I do not. Sorry. I want to kill the planet.
I can't trust.
Well,
I forget to do recycling, so I say that.
well, it changes like the way you interpret it.
Hold on. Shh.
interpreting, because if a mathematician says 2 + 2 = 4, it's like, okay, but if a murderer says it, it's like, well, what does that mean? Why would he be saying that?
Yeah. Remember?
I got it.
Well, maybe he was asked a question like, what is 2 + 2 equal? He says 2 + 2 = 4. He's like, all right, he can do math. He can kill a lot of people. He can do math. We call this a sense of what? Ethos. Very good. That authority there. Yes. No, I did not. All right. What's up?
Okay, it's a good quote by itself. If you were to change that to like,
Gandhi said.
yes, it would be like, oh, that's inspiring.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
from a girl who says, I knew you were trouble, it's like,
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, please spare me your advice. How about this? All right. So these are on a Pinterest board of like there's hundreds of them. There's all these beautiful sayings that Taylor Swift does with these beautiful pictures of Taylor Swift behind them, and it has hundreds of followers. And the person who creates these has a little trick that he's played on you. Each one of those quotes is not from Taylor Swift. Each one of these quotes is from Hitler. Burn! That's really good. I think Hitler is good, is what you just said. Both of these quotes are from Hitler and not from Taylor Swift. Now,
Well, that's why I didn't agree with that.
you're like, I knew something was wrong. Yeah. Now, how does that change the context to know that it's not Taylor Swift saying it in all her superficiality and sentimentality, but maybe a person like Hitler saying all of a sudden, as in everything, nature is in the best instructor.
it makes it so much better.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That makes the first quote like really bad because his nature is like killing Jews.
Right, so you have to let nature be your guide, and if nature says I'm superior, then you gotta go with it. Okay? This one here, do not compare yourselves to others. If you do so, you are insulting yourself.
When is Hitler a teenage girl?
Where does that come from?
Well, as a leader, you are second to none. If you are a part of the German heritage, do not compare yourselves to other nations. You are better. Do not insult yourself. So it's about confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to have confidence. Does that bother you that these quotes are from Hitler?
No, I think that's awesome.
Does it change the truthfulness of the statements or the goodness of the statements? So does it matter who says what when we believe it?
As long as I don't know.
Is that important to the history of things? Okay. So when people make stuff up, even though the ideas might be good, but they add a false ethos to it, a different authority that makes people pay attention to it. This can be a bad way for people to learn, right? A bad way to learn certain ideas. Another way that this happens, and I see it on Facebook pages and on various websites and Instagrams, that people who, for instance, have views of politics or government or religion, and they do something very similar, which is sort of the statement that that artist was making when they took the photography of Taylor Swift and added a Hitler quote. You have these characters, for instance, Thomas Jefferson, the government that governs best governs least.
No.
Except he never said that. Okay? So that's a problematic thing. So the fact that this quote has been attributed to Thomas Jefferson, does that matter? Now it could be true that the government that governs best governs least. Is that correct? Could it be true?
Maybe.
But what has happened now once I've created a false ethos by connecting it to Thomas Jefferson? What have I done to the quote? I've given it a new authority. What kind of authority have I given it?
Authority of the founding father.
So therefore, that's right. You're on the right track. So therefore, what have I given it?
It's true.
If you don't believe this, you're not what?
American.
Thank you. You're not American. You don't like the bald eagle. You burn the flag. You're terrorist. Okay? So there's elements when we do false authority. There's a way to create a form of control and a form of in-out grouping that is false. It's not a real conversation. It could very well be true, this statement, but does it need this? Well, some people think it does, and some people use it. Same with this one here. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Does that sound like a good quote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Hitler didn't say that. Hitler didn't say that, but yeah, it's probably a little long. But Thomas Jefferson, no, he didn't say that. But if I write his name down there, I get a greater sense of it. Now again, it could be a very good quote, but when we have false ethos, it can program a belief faster, easier, simpler than just saying it as if it were my opinion. And this is the problem that you see in certain communities, and in particular in our novel, to put it in the context here. The firemen have a certain belief, don't they, about the nature of firefighters. What was one of the things that they attributed the first firefighters to? They said the first fireman was Benjamin Franklin. Now, is that true or false?
False.
So, I thought that too a couple years back when I started reading this. Like, oh yeah, the first fireman, Ben, please. He was like a philosopher. He went to France. He liked women, all that kind of stuff. I knew those things. But did you know that it is actually true? Benjamin Franklin was the first fireman. He created a firehouse in Philadelphia, and he actually volunteered as a fireman earlier in his life, not when he was older and in the Constitution. Huh?
He wasn't like the kind of fireman they're talking about in the book.
But he's not the kind of fireman that they're talking about in the book.
Manipulating.
Yes, they are. So they're taking the vote. So they're doing a different type of ethos at that point, and they're literally changing the word to have a different sense of authority. So they're connecting it in a distorted way with the authority of a person. So the ethos and the logos, the word itself, have been changed in order to elicit a different form of control. They also technically did burn books, but they did so as a statement against British tyranny. So they only did a certain amount of books. They didn't have a million banned book list, right? They didn't ban every book. It was a form of protest to burn a book that had to do with British tyranny, imperial rule, imperial law, etc. So you had firemen and burning of books. You combine them together, and look, Benjamin Franklin was the first firefighter. It is American to burn books. And Bradbury's doing this as a statement to how quickly we can be distorted as a people if we're not doing what? Being aware of and caring about the idea of fact-checking, the idea of, is that true? Asking that question. When you stop asking questions, you lose all sense of the reality. So here's your creative writing assignment. Here's your creative writing assignment. Hold that thought. I don't know why that didn't turn it. There we go. Write this down. I want you to be agents of chaos. Like the Joker said.
Sounds pretty cool.
Introduce a little chaos. But I want you to record it. I want you to kind of consider the observation. Little psychological experiment for you Health Academy students. Yes, just write down the directions. So you can do it one of two ways. And by the way, just as a disclaimer, you don't say anything harmful to make people have false beliefs about the reality of their own health. Don't do anything unethical. Just connect a belief to somebody who didn't say it. Or tell people an interesting fact, but have it in fact be wrong, and see how many people actually question what you said, or if they have a sense of authority with it. Or maybe change it to your own opinion, and then or then change it to, hey, this scientist, this famous person said this recently, and see how many people actually. So basically, create a false fact or a false authority behind a fact, and see how many people question it. You can do it on Facebook, which tends to be the easiest place to do that. And just record people's responses. Just let your parents know or friends know or something like that. Hey, this scientist did this recently, or something like that. And just be agents of chaos for a second and record how people question it. Or if they don't, just go, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. If people all like your quote, that'll be interesting. Yeah, have a meme where it's like Thomas Jefferson says something or Benjamin Franklin says something, and make it a complete lie. You can actually create it yourself on a meme generator, right? Create a really weird quote, or like add a quote from somebody else and put it on, a founding father. See how many people go, yeah, that's good.
Are we allowed to use a religious figure?
Yes, you can use a religious figure. That's fine.
That would be like crazy. It's like Jesus said.
Right? Okay, so Jesus said that. Buddha says this, right? Muhammad says this. So, I mean, whatever you want to do, that's fine. Now, again, nothing harmful. I've seen people before, they start kind of doing this a lot to see how many people are sort of dumb enough to accept beliefs or accept things. Like, it's like, interesting life hack or interesting thing to do. If you want to cut into your really cold ice cream, put your spoon in the microwave, heat it up a little bit so you can have some warm, warm enough to work and cut the ice cream. Don't do that, right? Yeah, it's horrible, but it's all like pristine. Again, it has a sense of ethos because it looks all nice, like one of those tips of the day kind of Facebook facts. So like, don't do that. So nothing harmful. Don't tell anyone to like stick a fork in their toaster or anything. Stick a fork in your toaster to clean it out. Easy and effective. Don't do that. Instead, tell a friend a false fact, or on social media create a meme that misquotes a famous person, or just give them bad advice, or give them a wrong fact. Record people's reaction. So just say, what did you do? What did people say about it? Did people agree with it? Did people question it? Did people like it? However you want to do it. It needs to just be your own reflection. Okay? Creative writing. Everyone got that?
Can you give me some inspiration?
I just gave you like 3 or 4 of them, right?
No.
So I gave false facts connected to Hitler and his ideas, and how it changed your views of them to know that they were wrong. Because whenever I see a Facebook thing that's all misquoted like that, I go, oh, I think it's misquoted. I go, oh man, I'm checking this out, seeing what's going on here. Don't take anything. It's so fun to fact check people. You don't even know. It's so fun.
Call them out on it.
Say, actually, and it's totally like it's embarrassing. I have to take it down or something. I'm like, nope, sorry, that's wrong. I'm like, no. Be better with your Snopes is my friend. You guys ever go to Snopes? You see like emails? No, you don't get it. Fact checking stuff. Urban legends. Does your stomach blow up if you eat Pop Rocks and Coke? You know about urban legends?
Yeah. There's that one where it's like if you like swallow blood.
Yeah, is your gun going to be in there for 1,000 years or whatever? Yeah, for 100 years. No. Yes.
Do tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do it tonight, see what happens.
Do you want like a paragraph form?
Yeah, that's fine. Paragraph is good. What?
If you don't have
So just tell a friend or something. Yeah? We're good? Okay, let's go ahead and turn to page, gosh, where are we at with you guys? We're on page 57. We're almost done, guys.
Wow!
I mean, we're almost done with the first part. All right. Get these lights on here. Get the ambiance going. I need my Mildred. I'm sorry, that's so dark. I think we're getting into a different time. You feel the fall coming? It's kind of coming, isn't it? The morning was dark. Yeah. This fall. If it's too dark, we'll turn on the lights again. It's fine. I like the theatrical ambiance. I'm not sure if it's gonna work or not. I don't know if that's good enough for everyone else. You guys can see it. Do you want me to turn on the lights?
Oh, it's safe.
Okay, just want to make sure that I don't. My other periods are better because there's more light out. So we left off with Beatty kind of being a racist a little bit. So that hashtag white people problems. I'm not racist, but no, don't say it. Okay. Now Beatty's going to do it in a way that's again with a sense of ethos, a sense of authority. He's the captain. And he's also knows a lot about literature. He's studied. And it's usually the worst kind of authority, antagonist authority, one who has lots of information and can use it and distort it and twist it, just like those quotes that I misused. Why is it important to know the right thing? To know how to debate and to talk to people. Because there'll be better people than you who know how to debate bad stuff for the sake of bad motivations. Smoking's good for you, says the smoking industry, right? So there's reasons why these are things to go against. Now on page 57, Beatty's taking a look at those minorities. He says, let's take up the minorities in our civilization, shall we? Bigger the population, the more minorities. Don't step on the toes of the dog lovers, the cat lovers, doctors, lawyers, merchants, chiefs, Mormons. Those Mormons.
Hey.
So pesky and opinionated and what else? Sensitive, right? Hey. Baptists, Unitarians. Anyone Unitarian in here?
I'm Mormon.
I know you're Mormon. I heard you say it. Hey, I kind of get me to guess. I've been asked that if I was Mormon before, because I look like that with a tie on, like a young kid with a tie. They're like, "Are you Mormon?" I've said it like every time I've subbed or something.
What's a Unitarian?
Thanks for noticing. I'm glad I look nice, because that's what Mormons do. Unitarian is someone who sort of has, they go to churches where like everyone believes it differently, but they all come together as sort of a unity of everyone's going to heaven kind of thing. It's kind of a very positive community thing. Oh, that sounds good. Let's be a Unitarian. Yeah, that's what I am. So everyone has different opinions. Second generation Chinese, Swedes, Italians, Germans, Texans, Brooklynites. Hey, it's a pizza. Hey, forget about it. Irishmen. Oh, cha-cha-cha. People from Oregon.
Oregon?
Oh, love ducks, eh? I'm Mrs. Nelson. I love Oregon. Okay. It's kind of Canada, but they're kind of similar. Or Mexico. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with that. That went great. Everyone else, but I'm not going to do Mexico. I don't even know what they sound like. They sound just like me, don't they? Okay. I haven't even noticed the difference. You have a Mexican accent? Don't even hear it. The people in this book, this play, this TV serial are not meant to represent any actual painters, cartographers, mechanics, anywhere. The bigger your market, Montag, the less you handle controversy. Remember that. All the minor minorities with their navels to be kept clean. They all politically correct, is what Bradbury is suggesting. Authors full of evil. All those evil thoughts, lock up your typewriters, and they did. Magazines became a nice blend of vanilla tapioca. What does that mean? Magazines became a nice blend of vanilla tapioca.
Generic propaganda.
Generic, very good. That's a good description. Generic propaganda, like vanilla tapioca. Have you ever tasted tapioca?
Yeah.
It's just kind of blank, right? It's what you eat when you're sick or something, right?
No. Oh wait, is it
You liked it? Oh, okay.
My brother.
It's like rice pudding, tapioca.
Oh, okay. I think I've tried it.
And it's like a little vanilla there, so it doesn't taste too bitter, or too blank. But he's saying like it's sort of blending all the stuff together into just blandness. What we can all agree on, whatever we can all agree on, what offends nobody, that's what we're all going to think about. And if we lose the sense of debate about topics or ideas, kind of like those Taylor Swift pictures, if we just kind of lose all the political incorrectness, it seems like we can all agree and we all feel good at the end there. Let's just watch cat videos on YouTube. We just feel good about that.
I'm more of a dog person.
Hey, we don't like your kind here. Okay. Actually, I hate cats. I like dogs.
Okay, well.
But I don't really like dogs either, so I guess I'm like I'm an atheist when it comes to
I
pets.
don't. Yeah. Mice are nasty.
I was gonna say like a mouse, but I was like mouse.
Alright, back to the deck. Shh. Books. So the damn snobbish critics said were dishwater. No wonder books stopped selling, the critics said, but the public, knowing that what it wanted, spinning happily, let the comic books survive. Oh, we have Comic-Cons. I bet you Comic-Con is a little bit bigger than Mozart Cons, right?
Yeah.
And the three-dimensional sex magazines. Ooh. Three-dimensional. I need to create a three-dimensional sex magazine. That sounds like a successful product. There you have it, Montag. It didn't come from the government down. Here's a good quote. Write it down in your reading journal. It didn't come from the government down. There was no dictum, no declaration, no censorship to start with. No. Technology, mass exploitation, and minority pressure carried the trick, thank God. Today, thanks to them, you can stay happy all the time. You are allowed to read comics, the good old confessions or trade journals. So if you want to just sort of summarize that or write a part of it, the ellipses, write the end of it, whatever you want to do. But just know it's on top of 58 for this book. I think it's on, what? 61 for the other book. He's saying that this has nothing to do with government forcing you to do anything. What is it instead? How would I explain this quote? What does it mean? It's hard. Let me reread it, maybe, because I know you guys are taking it in, and I've read it a billion times. There you have it, Montag. Everyone loves comic books, but they don't want to be offended, so no political treaties, no literature, no fantasy, none of that, okay? Tapioca, like you said, bland propaganda, general. He says there was no dictum, no declaration, no censorship from the government, at least to start with. No, instead it was technology, mass exploitation, and minority pressure that carried the trick. Today, thanks to them, you can stay happy all the time. You are allowed to read comics, the good old confessions, or trade journals. All you need to do is just know how to do your job, learn about some gossip, some reality shows, and read some comics. A little cartoon for you. A little entertainment. That's why I've seen the, what is the Joker quote? Now I see the lighter side. It's the funny way. I'm just happy all the time. No insults. It didn't start with censorship. It started because technology replaced your need to do anything or to disagree. Why disagree when I can have intense happiness just right here on my computer for cheap? I don't need people worried about resources when I don't need to go any place special. I have instant entertainment right in my front door. All the time. Never mind people who are starving or whatever. I got YouTube. It's cool. I get to just chill out. Television. In this case, it was television. I got television. I can be happy. My life is good. So he's worried about a society that instead of being censored by the government is actually doing what? Let me try one more time. I've read it twice now, and I've explained it, but let me just see if...
What was the question?
Yeah, the question was, instead of the government censoring the people, what is the result, what is the society doing instead of being censored by the government?
Censoring itself.
Thank you. It's self-censorship. That should be part of your mean and your saying matter. That he is saying that there's a self-censorship going on in society. How many books did you read last year? Was it more than 5?
Yeah.
Good. How about books if you weren't forced to read in school? How many books did you read? Did you read more than 5? 2 and 3? You know that in our society today, about 85% of Americans read less than 2 books last year. 85% of people read less than 2 books last year. Is that an example of self-censorship? Now, obviously, there's different ways to learn information, but just by its definition, you're not reading what people are saying. If you were to think about that in connection to past generations of literacy, even though more people can read, thanks to our schools and our forced education that you have to do, people do read and have literacy, but afterwards, there's not so much. There's that push towards entertainment, reality, and emptiness, right? But it makes for no one to insult each other. Don't want anyone to feel awkward now. Yes, but what about the firemen then? Asked Montag. Beatty leaned forward in the front, faint mist of smoke from his pipe. See, we're more easily explained. What more easily explained than natural? Was school turning out more runners, jumpers, racers, tinkerers, grabbers, snatchers, flyers, swimmers, instead of examiners, critics, knowers, and imaginative creators? The word intellectual, of course, became a swear word. It deserved to be. Quick little anecdote. When I was in high school, the word nerd, do you think it was a good word or bad word? Kind of a bad word. Do you think today it's the same kind of bad word?
I think so.
It's kind of like a teasing word.
There's a little bit different.
Someone calls me a nerd. I'm like,
Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Sure, yeah.
proud of
Well, a nerd is someone who's pretty successful, who knows a lot about technology. And technology is a lot cooler than it was when I was in high school. Well, that's what I mean, like nerd. I don't know, but there's different ways to say nerd. But those are, or geek, I should say. That's a probably better one, right? Geek. That was totally a bad word, right? But now it's more like a tech geek, like someone who knows a lot about
It's like
stuff.
logos now.
Huh?
It's like logos now.
Yeah, exactly. That word has changed. That logos has changed, right? Very good. So anyway, that's just a thought there, like Geek Squad, right? Or something like that. Anyways. Right. So, intellectual swear word. You need to learn how things are made. You don't necessarily need to know why they're made or how to create new things. You just need to know how to put the parts together. A working class that doesn't think through things. They just are told what to do and can follow the directions. All right. Continuing on that could be a good quote too, by the way. Became the swear word deserved to be. You always dread the unfamiliar. Surely you remember the boy in your own school class who was the exceptionally bright. Did most of the reciting and answering while the others sat like so many leaden idols, hating him? And wasn't it this bright boy you selected for beatings and tortures after hours, bullied? Of course it was. We must all be alike. Not everyone born free and equal, as the Constitution says, but here's a great way to use ethos. The Constitution says everyone made equal. How does that change the meaning of that? Born equal versus made equal. It's literally the difference between freedom and...
You gotta earn your way to freedom.
You gotta earn your way. Well, made, not just earned, but like people are forced to it. Forced equal. Some sort of communism or some sort of dystopian kind of equality, right? That's forcing people. Even if you're smart and someone else is not so smart, you all got to just be forced into the same thing. How would you like it if you're an A student, which I know a lot of you are. But let's say there was like 3 or 4 F students in this class. And I would say, you know, those F students and you A students need to have the same grade. So I'm going to take your points and give it to those people that are all going to be kind of C's. We want to make sure everyone gets C's. You would all be like, no, right?
No.
You wouldn't like that. Okay, and that's what Bradbury is arguing here.
Okay, that kind of...
Each man the image of every other. Then all are happy. For there are no mountains to make them cower, to judge themselves against. And so, a book is like a loaded gun. Meaning what? Why would be a book?
Make people different. A book is
A loaded gun. Why would a book be a loaded gun? It's a weapon. It's a way for me to be better than you. You high and mighty know exactly what's in books. And all of a sudden you're better than me, you get more points than me, you earn more money than me, all that kind of stuff. And that's not what society should be about. It should be about equality. Being made equal as our Constitution said. Notice how he's twisting all of these language. All this logos is being destroyed. A book is a loaded gun in the house next door, so burn it. Take the shot from the weapon. Breach man's mind. Who knows who might be the next target, but be the target of a well-read man? Me? I won't stomach them for a second. And so when houses were finally fireproofed completely all over the world, you were correct in your assumption the other night. There was no longer need of firemen for the old purposes. They were given the new job as custodians of our peace of mind. The focus of our understandable and rightful dread of being inferior. Official censors, judges and executioners. But this came from bottom up, remember? The firemen are something that the people wanted. That's you, Montag, and that's me. Going back to our Socratic seminar on safety and freedom, we kind of determined that there might need to be some type of balance. Maybe we need some safety in order to be free. right? I can't feel free to move around if I'm worried about stuff. At the same time, though, I also need a certain sense of freedom to really feel safe. So vice versa. There's some interesting connections between the two. What we don't want is our government or our people in authority that we decide it's okay for them to violate some basic freedoms. Those boundaries that we've set forth in our Constitution. We certainly don't want people misquoting or distorting those things, so be aware. The door to the parlor opened and Mildred stood there looking in at them, looking at Beatty and then at Montag. Behind the walls of the room were flooded with green and yellow and orange fireworks, sizzling and bursting to some music composed completely of trap dubs and tom-toms and cymbals. Her mouth moved and she was saying something, but the sound covered it. Beatty knocked his pipe into the palm of his pink hand, studied the ashes as if they were a symbol to be diagnosed, and searched for meaning. You must understand that our civilization is so vast that we can't have our minorities upset and stirred. Ask yourself, what do we want of this country above all? People want to be happy, isn't it right? Haven't you heard it all your life? I want to be happy, people say. Well, aren't they happy? Don't we keep them moving? Don't we give them fun? That's all we live for, isn't it? For pleasure, for titillation. And you must admit our culture provides plenty of these. It's a good quote as well here, happiness. Had that happy quiz that we talked about. What do people want? Is that all you want to search for? It's happiness. Is there something beyond happiness, something greater, something deeper to that definition that sometimes is lost? Wouldn't it be great if we just didn't go to school? Wouldn't that make you happy? And you just need to do is run around and just find a job to do, and you get some money, basic enough money to make everyone equal, everyone happy. And not think about the world's problem, not do anything like that, just kind of deal with your own happiness. Interesting. Montag could lip read what Mildred was saying in the doorway. He tried to look at her mouth because then Beatty might turn and read what was there too. See, colored people don't like Little Black Sambo, so burn it. That's a book about a sort of caricature of a slave. White people don't feel good about Uncle Tom's Cabin, which sort of shows the problems of race and slavery from the perspective of the white being an antagonist. So burn it. Someone's written a book on tobacco and cancer of the lungs. The cigarette people are weeping. Burn that book too. So that's an interesting difference between the other two. What's the difference between burning Uncle Tom's Cabin and burning a book about the dangers of lung cancer and cigarettes?
Well, one's about like health, one's just like racism.
Yeah, one's sort of about racism, which is
understandable.
One's fiction, right? And one's more non-fiction. That's the sort of basic thing. But I think you're onto something there. The one's a concept that people might need to know about, the perspective of race relations during the Civil War. But it's easier to delete those things and not feel the effects, as opposed to knowing about whether cigarettes cause lung cancer or not. It seems like a scientific thing, right? So what's the difference there in terms of people's authority? Are minorities the same as people with money? Is people with money a minority group like black people or Latinos? Would you say that that's sort of an equal type of minority? For instance, have people with money been discriminated against in the same ways as, for instance, African Americans?
No.
And so you see Beatty kind of gloss over all the demographics and says if you have money and it offends you because you're the cigarette company and it offends you to say that lung cancer is caused by cigarettes, then burn that too. Except now you see where it's inserting that harm into society, when the wealthy in the country get to decide what's truth. And that's sort of something that's missing there, is whether people actually have more influence than others. So you keep people happy, but you don't tell them the truth about things that can potentially harm them. Do we have that going on today? Okay, do people with wealth able to control the politics, control the decisions, the science, those types of things? Interesting. Burn the book. Serenity, Montag. Peace, Montag. Take your fight outside, better yet. Into the incinerator. Funerals are unhappy and pagan. Eliminate them too. 5 minutes after a person is dead, don't even think about him. He's on his way to the big flu. Not heaven, just the big flu. The incinerator is serviced by helicopters all above the country. 10 minutes after death, a man's a speck of black dust. Let's not quibble over individuals with memoriams. Forget them. Burn all. Burn everything. Fire is bright and fire is clean. It's a great quote right there. Especially if you have to do a time writing on fire as a symbol. Burn all, burn everything. Fire is bright, fire is clean. How is this different use of fire? I'm giving you now very important content for your time writing. So you can analyze it right here, right now. How is this a different symbol of fire than the old woman in the house? When she said, "Play the tune, Uncle Ridley, and that we shall light a candle of such a fire, such a greatness that we will set all of England ablaze, or it'll be seen in all of England." How is that a different use of fire than what we see here? Fire is bright, fire is clean, burn all, burn everything.
We want to talk about like that quote or the quote previous?
Well, both of them. So to compare them.
It's like for the one that like Captain Beatty's talking about, like it sees it's like it's a cleansing type of like thing.
Perfect. As opposed to what the old woman, what do you think she was doing with her symbol of fire?
So like I guess destruction.
Destruction, but for the same reason, like a cleansing, or
Like igniting.
It's like a message.
okay, so igniting for the sake of message, right? So the opposite in a lot of ways of Beatty. Beatty's, what is his? If you're to say what is his message here, it's to remember or forget. The cleansing is a forgetting. Burn it. Don't know it. Okay, forget your loved ones that die. That makes you unhappy. So forget about it. Don't think about it. Burn it. Whereas she's saying in her death, everyone's going to remember this. Remember it. Remember what I did. This should bother you. And Montag said it right afterwards. I should feel bothered sometimes. It's okay to feel bothered. Or maybe he hasn't said that yet. I don't know.
Yes.
He has said it. Sometimes maybe we need to be bothered sometimes, right? So now he's thinking about, well, what is unhappiness and how does that help me? I don't always need to be artificially happy. Maybe I need to be sad sometimes or angry sometimes to change something. So I got to think about others. So that's in part what Montag is saying there. Difference in those two symbols: cleansing versus remembering. Okay. Fire can be hot and bright, so it can shine in the darkness, or it can destroy things in dark, secret. Okay. So there's all sorts of ways in which symbols are. It can create intimacy, or it can create like with electric lights. It can be very exposing. Beatty smiled. Oh no. The fireworks died in the parlor behind Mildred. She had stopped talking at the same time. A miraculous coincidence. And Montag held his breath. There was this girl next door. She's gone now, I think, dead. I can't even remember her face, but she was different. How did she happen? Beatty smiled. Here or there, that's bound to occur. Clarice McClellan, yeah. We've a record on her family. We've watched them carefully. Heredity and environment are funny things. You can't rid yourselves of the odd ducks in just a few years. The home environment can undo a lot of what you try and do at school. Teachers know better than your parents, don't we? That's why we've lowered the kindergarten age year after year, slowly, until now we're almost snatching them from the cradle. We had some false alarms on them from the McClellans when they lived in Chicago. Never found a book. Uncle had a mixed record, anti-social, and the girl, she was a time bomb. The family had been feeding her subconscious. I'm sure from what I saw from her school record, she didn't want to know how a thing was done, but why a thing was done. That can be embarrassing. Asking why you ask why to a lot of things, and you wind up very unhappy indeed if you keep at it. The poor girl's better off dead. Yes, dead. Luckily, queer ones like her don't happen often. We know how to nip most of them in the bud early. You can't build a house without nails and wood. If you want to if you want a house built, hide the nails and wood. And if you don't want a man unhappy politically, don't give him two sides to a question. You don't want to worry him. Give him one. Better yet, give him none. Let him forget there is such a thing as war. If the government is inefficient, top-heavy, and tax-mad, better it all be from all of those than people worry over it. Peace, Montag. Give the people contests. They win by remembering words to more popular songs, or names of state capitals, or how much corn Iowa grew last year. Cram them full of non-combustible data. Choke them so damn full of facts, quote-unquote, they feel stuffed, but absolutely brilliant with information. Sounds like school sometimes. Then they'll fill their thinking. They'll get a sense of motion without actually moving. They'll be happy, because facts of that sort don't change. What's the capital of New York? Does anyone know? No. Albany. Good. That doesn't change. Well, it can change, but then that fact changes, and it's okay, because those are no things. No one cares about whether Albany is the capital of New York, but don't you feel smart for knowing it? And if you're on Jeopardy, don't you think those people are pretty darn smart? You know those Jeopardy questions? Except Jeopardy doesn't necessarily relate to real critical thinking in the same way. It's just your trivia. Now, who's the best Jeopardy champion of all time? Does anyone know? I know. Non-combustible fact here. His name's Watson. Do you know who Watson is?
Oh, I was going to say that.
Who's Watson?
Isn't that a robot?
It's a supercomputer.
Yeah.
Supercomputer who doesn't get fed the information through data. It's not connected to the internet or anything like that. It's just a program with all the data underneath the floor, underneath Jeopardy, and it had a little face on his little thing there, and he listened to the words and made connections to the human knowledge and was able to say the quote faster than anyone else. Had a normal pressured hand finger that did his thing as soon as he knew the information and could speak it back perfectly. He basically beat every other trivia person there. None necessary. The computer has made your human factual brain obsolete. Anytime you memorize a vocabulary word, know that a computer does it 1 billion times faster than you. And there's nothing you can do about it if you try to compete with a computer. Except you can build the computers. Or you can think laterally and actually ask questions of ethics and change societies. Those are what humans do unique. And that's what he's railing against. Keeping people filled with facts so they're happy. Don't give them any slippery stuff like philosophy or sociology to tie them things up with. That way lies to sadness, melancholy. Any man who can take a TV wall apart and put it back together again, that, as most men can nowadays, is happier than any of the men who try to slide rule, measure, and equate the universe. Don't be a scientist, just be a mechanic. Which just won't be measured or equated without making men feel bestial and lonely. When you start looking at the stars, you start thinking of your own existential smallness. I know, I've tried it. To hell with it. So bring on the clubs and parties, your acrobats and magicians, your daredevils, your jet cars, your motorcycle helicopters, your sex and heroin.
What?
Whoa, what? One of these things doesn't belong with the others. Okay. Where did you go today? More of everything to do with automatic reflex. If the drama is bad, the film says nothing. If the play is hollow, sting me with the theremin, loudly. Loud sound. It's like the theremin's like this electrical pulsing pole that you can make sound things. I'll think I'm responding to the play when it's only a tactile reaction to vibration, but I don't care. I just like solid entertainment. Whatever makes me feel something physically. Beatty got up. Well, I must be going. Lecture's over. I hope I've clarified things. The important thing for you to remember, Montag, is we're the Happiness Boys. The Dixie Duo, you and I and others. We stand against the small tide of those who want to make everyone unhappy with conflicting theory and thought. We are the fingers in the dam. Hold steady. Don't let the torrent of melancholy and drear philosophy drown our world. We depend on you, Montag. I don't think you realize how important you are, how important we are to our happy world as it stands now. What is that sort of image there that I was relating there? You don't know how important you are, how much we want you. Your country needs you. Your country wants you. Come fight the good cause. Take it up for America, right? Those are clear pathos statements. Emotion. We need you. We want you. Who doesn't want to feel belonged? Raise your hand. Right?
Who doesn't want to what?
Who doesn't want to feel like they belong? Raise your hand. We all need that. And so he's saying we depend on you. Isn't that nice to have someone depend on you?
Yeah.
Or you depend on someone else? That kind of thing. It's important. You're important. I don't think you realize how important you are. We are to our happy world as it stands now. And Beatty shook Montag's limp hand. Montag still sat as if the house were collapsing about him, and he could not move. Something still feels wrong inside, but now he is conflicted once again. Mildred had vanished from the door. Oh, one last thing, said Beatty. You know, at least once in the career, every fireman gets an itch. What's he going to talk about? The book. What do the books say, he wonders. Oh, to scratch that itch, eh? Well, Montag, take my word for it. I've heard and read a few in my time to know what I was about, and the books say nothing. Nothing you can teach or believe. They're about non-existent people, figments of imagination. If they're fiction and if they're non-fiction, it's worse. One professor calling another an idiot. One philosopher screaming down another's gullet. All of them running about, putting out the stars and extinguishing the sun. You come away lost. Well then, what if a fireman accidentally, really not intending anything, takes a book home with him? Montag twitched. The open door looked at him with its great vacant eye. It's a natural error. Curiosity alone, said Beatty. We don't get over anxious or mad. We let the fireman keep the book 24 hours. And if he hasn't burned it by then, we simply come burn it for him, giving him his own choice. It's your choice. You want to do this, don't you, Montag? Of course, said Montag's mouth was dry. Well, Montag, will you take another later shift today? We will see you tonight, perhaps. I don't know, said Montag. Well, what? Beatty looked faintly surprised. Montag shut his eyes. Yeah, I'll be there in later. Maybe. Well, we'd certainly miss you if you didn't show, said Beatty, putting his pipe in the pocket thoughtfully. I'll never come in again, thought Montag. Get well and keep well, said Beatty. He turned and went out through the open door. Montag watched through the window as Beatty drove away in his gleaming yellow flame colored Beetle with the black char-colored tires. Are we getting close to the time here? We got a minute or two or what? 1 minute? No. Let's go and stop there. We're going to finish up part 1 on... Probably not tomorrow. We're doing Bradbury research tomorrow, so you're going to learn a little bit more about Mr. Bradbury's context. Why does he write this novel? Seems to have significance today. Just wait, it'll have even more significance back in the 50s. Stay tuned. Goodbye, children.
Goodbye, Morris.
Good discussion.